There is a country on this planet with 180 nuclear warheads, a Taliban government on its border, and an army that has overthrown its own elected leaders 4 times. It has sheltered the world's most wanted terrorist for 6 years in a military town and claimed it knew nothing. It has received over $40 billion in American aid and used some of it to fund the very groups killing American soldiers. And yet, America created this country, funded it, armed it, and cannot afford to let it fail. This is the story of the most dangerous country America ever made, and why the world should be paying very close attention. To understand Pakistan today, you must go back to 1947 and to one of the greatest acts of imperial negligence in human history. For nearly 200 years, Britain had ruled the Indian subcontinent, a land of 400 million people, dozens of religions, hundreds of languages. By 1947, Britain was broken from World War II and desperately wanted out. They handed the job of dividing the entire subcontinent to a single man, a British lawyer named Cyril Radcliffe, who had never set foot in India before. He was given 6 weeks to draw the borders of 2 new nations, India and Pakistan. 6 weeks. To divide a civilization that had existed for 3,000 years. When the borders were announced, 14 million people were on the wrong side. What followed was one of the largest and bloodiest mass migrations in human history. Between 1 and 2 million people were killed in communal violence within months. Pakistan was born not in celebration but in fire, blood, and grief. The new country had no functioning government, no stable economy, no army of its own. Just borders drawn in haste by a man who had already left. Radcliffe burned all his papers before he left. He never spoke publicly about the partition again. Pakistan's first Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan was assassinated just 4 years after independence. The first of many political murders. From the very beginning, the military stepped in to fill the power vacuum, a pattern that would define Pakistan forever. By 1958, just 11 years after independence, Pakistan had its first military coup. A country born in chaos would never truly escape it. But someone was watching, and they saw opportunity. The year is 1954. The Cold War is at its peak, and Washington has a problem. The Soviet Union is expanding its influence southward, toward the warm waters of the Indian Ocean and the oil fields of the Middle East. America needed a partner in the region, a strategic anchor, a country willing to host military bases and intelligence operations. Pakistan, poor, unstable, desperate for legitimacy, said yes immediately. In 1954, Pakistan joined SEATO, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, America's alliance against Soviet expansion. American military aid began flowing into Pakistan. Weapons, training, money, lots of money. But most of that aid did not go to schools or hospitals. It went directly to the Pakistani military. America's relationship was not with the Pakistani people. It was with the Pakistani generals. Every time a civilian government tried to assert independence, the military, and backed by American silence, removed it. 4 military coups. 4 times the generals took power. 4 times Washington looked away, or quietly approved. General Ayub Khan, General Yahya Khan, General Zia-ul-Haq, General Pervez Musharraf. Each one embraced by America. General Zia-ul-Haq in particular would become one of the most consequential and most dangerous American allies of the 20th century. Under Zia, Pakistan was transformed. Alcohol was banned, Islamic law was introduced, madrasas multiplied across the country. America did not just allow this, America funded it, because Zia had agreed to something enormous. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, right on Pakistan's doorstep. Washington made a decision that would create the modern world of terrorism as we know it today, Operation Cyclone, the largest covert operation in the history of the Central Intelligence Agency. The plan: arm, fund, and train Afghan fighters to bleed the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. The entire operation would be run through one country, one army, one intelligence service. Pakistan's ISI, Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, the ISI, became the most powerful spy agency in the Muslim world almost overnight. Billions of dollars in CIA funding flowed through ISI hands. And I decided who got the money and who got the weapons. That decision had consequences nobody in Washington seemed to think about. I consistently directed the most money and the best weapons to the most radical Islamist factions. Not because they were the best fighters, but because I wanted a radical Islamic state in Afghanistan as a strategic buffer against India. Saudi Arabia matched every dollar America spent, flooding the region with Wahhabi ideology alongside the weapons. Thousands of madrasas were built along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. They taught one thing: holy war. Young men from across the Arab world poured in to fight the Soviets. America called them freedom fighters. One of those young men who came to fight was a tall, wealthy Saudi from a prominent family. His name was Osama Bin Laden. The CIA knew about Bin Laden. Some accounts suggest they even facilitated his entry into the network. By 1989, the Soviets had withdrawn from Afghanistan. Defeated, humiliated, bleeding. Washington celebrated. The Cold War was effectively over. Mission accomplished. Then America packed up, turned off the funding, and left. They left behind 35,000 trained radical fighters, millions of weapons, and a country with no government. And they left Pakistan to deal with all of it. When America left Afghanistan in 1989, Pakistan was left holding a grenade with the pin already pulled. Millions of Afghan refugees, millions of weapons, thousands of battle-hardened radical fighters, all inside or on Pakistan's border. Afghanistan descended into a brutal civil war between the very warlords America had funded. The Pakistani ISI saw the chaos and decided to create order, their kind of order. In the madrasas along the border, a new generation of fighters had grown up knowing nothing but war and religion. The ISI organized them, funded them, gave them a name. The Taliban, meaning the students. By 1996, the Taliban had swept across Afghanistan and taken Kabul. Pakistan was the first country to officially recognize the Taliban government, one of only 3 countries in the world to do so. Women were banned from schools. Music was banned. Public executions became weekly events. The monster was fully grown, and Pakistan had its hand on its leash. Or so they thought. Meanwhile, the radical networks did not stay in Afghanistan. They seeped back into Pakistan itself. Sectarian violence exploded across Pakistani cities. Sunni and Shia Muslims killed each other in the streets. The weapons that had flooded in during the 1980s were now everywhere. In criminal hands, in militia hands, in terrorist hands. Pakistan had one of the highest rates of Kalashnikov ownership in the world, a direct legacy of the CYA's operation. But nothing compared to what Pakistan had been secretly building since 1972, a weapon that would make Pakistan untouchable and make the entire world hold its breath. In 1971, Pakistan lost a war against India and lost half its country in a single defeat. East Pakistan broke away and became Bangladesh. Pakistan was cut in half, literally. Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto gathered his scientists and made a declaration that would change history. He said, and these are close to his actual words, "We will eat grass, but we will build the bomb." Enter Abdul Qadir Khan, a Pakistani metallurgist working at a nuclear enrichment plant in the Netherlands. In 1975, Khan stole the blueprints for uranium enrichment centrifuges from his Dutch employer and flew them back to Pakistan. He is still celebrated in Pakistan as a national hero. In the Netherlands and America, he is a criminal and a spy. America knew Pakistan was building a bomb throughout the 1970s and early 1980s. They said nothing, because they needed Pakistan for Operation Cyclone. The Afghan jihad was more important than nuclear non-proliferation. In 1987, while Pakistan was still running CYA weapons into Afghanistan, A.Q. Khan told an Indian journalist Pakistan had the bomb. In 1998, Pakistan tested 5 nuclear weapons in the Balochistan desert. The world shook, literally. Pakistan became the world's first Islamic nuclear state, and the celebrations in the streets were enormous. But A.Q. Khan had not stopped at building Pakistan's bomb. He had gone into business. Khan ran the most dangerous nuclear proliferation network in history, selling bomb designs to North Korea, Iran, and Libya. The same centrifuge blueprints he had stolen from the Netherlands were now in the hands of three of the world's most dangerous regimes. When he was finally caught in 2004, President Musharraf pardoned him immediately. Pakistan claimed he had acted alone. Almost nobody believed it. September 11th, 2001. The world changed in 102 minutes. Within days, America identified al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden as responsible, and al-Qaeda was in Afghanistan, which meant America was going back to Afghanistan, which meant America needed Pakistan again. President Musharraf received a phone call from Secretary of State Colin Powell. The message was simple. You are either with us or against us. Pakistan chose with us, and the money started flowing again. $10 billion over the next decade. But Pakistan was playing two games simultaneously, and doing it openly enough that anyone paying attention could see it. Publicly, Pakistan arrested hundreds of al-Qaeda operatives and handed them to the Americans. Privately, the ISI continued to support, shelter, and communicate with the Afghan Taliban, the very government that had hosted bin Laden. American soldiers were dying in Afghanistan fighting Taliban forces that Pakistan was sheltering just across the border. American commanders knew it. American politicians knew it. They kept paying Pakistan anyway. Pakistan's argument was always the same. If you stop paying us, things will get much worse. It was protection money, on a geopolitical scale, and it worked for over a decade. Meanwhile, inside Pakistan, the Taliban and al-Qaeda networks were turning their guns inward. The Pakistani Taliban, the TTP, launched a brutal insurgency against the Pakistani state itself. Over 70,000 Pakistanis, soldiers and civilians, were killed in terrorist attacks between 2001 and 2018. Pakistan had spent 30 years building radical networks as a weapon. Now that weapon was pointed at its own chest. For 10 years after 9/11, the most wanted man in the world was Osama bin Laden. The CIA chased him through caves in Tora Bora, through the mountains of Afghanistan, across the tribal areas of Pakistan. They found him on May 2nd, 2011. Not in a cave, not in the mountains. In a large, comfortable compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Abbottabad is not a remote tribal village. It is a wealthy garrison town, home to Pakistan's most prestigious military academy. The Pakistan Military Academy is their equivalent of West Point. Pakistan's finest officers train there. Bin Laden had been living there for at least 6 years. Possibly longer. 6 years. In a military town, 800 meters from the Army Academy, and Pakistan's intelligence service claims it had no idea. President Obama made the decision to launch the raid without telling Pakistan, because they could not be trusted. On the night of May 1st, 2 Black Hawk helicopters crossed from Afghanistan into Pakistani airspace undetected. Pakistan's air defenses, among the most sophisticated in the region, somehow did not detect them. Bin Laden was killed. The operation was over in 38 minutes. Pakistan's government was furious. Not about bin Laden, but about the violation of their sovereignty. They arrested the Pakistani doctor who had helped the CIA confirm bin Laden's location through a vaccine program. He is still in prison today. The man who sheltered the architect of 9/11 was never charged. The man who helped find him is serving 33 years. The relationship between Washington and Islamabad never fully recovered from Abbottabad. But the question that has never been officially answered is the one everyone already knows the answer to. How did nobody know? To understand why Pakistan cannot escape its chaos, you must understand its economy, or rather the absence of one. Pakistan is a country of 230 million people, the 5th largest population on Earth. It has fertile land, natural resources, a young workforce, and a strategic location connecting China, India, Iran, and Afghanistan. On paper, it should be prosperous. In reality, nearly 40% of its population lives in poverty. The reason is simple and devastating. The military consumes everything. Pakistan spends over 25% of its national budget on its military, one of the highest ratios in the world. The military is not just an army in Pakistan, it is a business empire. Pakistan's military owns cement factories, bakeries, housing developments, golf courses, and one of the country's largest fertilizer companies. Generals retire into CEO positions. Military pensions are funded by commercial profits. The army has no incentive for stability. Instability keeps them relevant. Pakistan has gone to the IMF for bailouts 23 times, more than almost any other country in history. Each bailout comes with conditions: cut subsidies, raise taxes, reduce spending. The poor suffer. The military budget is never touched. Political leaders who challenge the military are destroyed. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was hanged. Benazir Bhutto was assassinated. Imran Khan was imprisoned. Imran Khan, like the most popular civilian leader in Pakistan's recent history, was removed from power in 2022 and imprisoned in 2023. He had made one unforgivable mistake. He had tried to make peace with the military's enemies and reduce their budget. Floods in 2022 submerged one-third of the entire country, an area the size of the United Kingdom. Pakistan contributed less than 1% of global carbon emissions. It is among the most devastated countries by climate change. And no one is coming to save it. Today, Pakistan stands at the most precarious moment in its 77-year history. It has 170 nuclear warheads, the world's fifth largest nuclear arsenal, and it is still growing. The Pakistani Taliban, the TTP, has launched its most intense campaign of attacks in a decade. The Afghan Taliban next door, Pakistan's own creation, has turned hostile, sheltering the TTP and rejecting Pakistani authority. Pakistan created the Taliban. Now the Taliban threatens Pakistan. The monster has turned on its maker. On the eastern border, India, now the world's fifth largest economy, is pulling further ahead in every measure of development. India and Pakistan have fought 4 wars. Both now have nuclear weapons. The next conflict could be the last one either country fights. In 2019, the two countries came closer to nuclear war than at any point since the Cold War, over a single airstrike in Kashmir. China has stepped in where America stepped back, pouring $62 billion into the China-Pakistan economic corridor. But China's investment comes with strings: debt, dependency. Ports and infrastructure that serve Chinese strategic interests more than Pakistani ones. Gwadar, a deep seaport built by China on Pakistan's coastline, gives China direct access to the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf. America watches this and understands what it means. The country it built is now drifting into the orbit of its greatest rival. The nightmare scenario that keeps Western intelligence agencies awake at night is simple. What happens to Pakistan's nuclear weapons if the state collapses? 180 nuclear weapons, in a country with an economy in freefall, a military fighting its own citizens, and a Taliban state next door. Pakistan is not a failed state. Not yet. But it is a state that has been failing, slowly, expensively, and dangerously, for decades. America built it, armed it, radicalized it, nuclearized it. And now it cannot control it, cannot fix it, and cannot afford to let it fall. That is the most dangerous kind of problem there is. Every crisis Pakistan faces today, the Taliban, the nuclear threat, the economic collapse, the political chaos, was shaped by decisions made in Washington, London, and Riyadh decades ago. The people of Pakistan never chose any of this. They inherited it. Wealth history, where the past explains everything you see today.